Storms never last, do they, Eddie? Blue skies all fade in the wind. Your hand in mine stills the thunder. You make the sun want to shine. Too low for me. Good morning, everybody. Thinking about the old Jesse Coulter and Waylon Jennings song, Storms Never Last. While sitting out here this morning trying to get this little video in before the rain starts trickling down. We are supposed to have a stormy, rainy day ahead of us here in the city of Atlanta. So good morning. Hope everybody's doing okay this morning. The Morning Post this morning, everybody, as we get this week started. Martin Luther asked the question one time, if you knew the world was going to end today, what would you do? His answer, plant a tree. I have planted trees, and I have lived long enough now that I have cut down the trees, some of the trees that I planted. Did that last week, cut down a big crepe myrtle tree that was a shade over me. I planted about 15 years ago. It got just messy and anyhow. I planted 2 little baby trees even last fall here at Constance's house. Who knows? Maybe one day my grandson Chance may live on this corner, in this house, and sit under those shade trees. Sit under those trees for shade. And if not him, somebody will. It's kind of odd when you think about it sometimes. You know, we buy houses, we build our castles and our Garden of Eves. We really and truly never own any of it. We're just the caretakers of it until the next generation comes along behind us, after we're all long gone. And I often think about that when people say, oh, I own a house here and I own a place in Panama City. And I'm like, really? Do you really own it? You're just kind of hanging out there until the next people come along. Yeah, that's a little side tangent. It was a perfect weekend. A perfect weekend for me means something different now than when it did when I was in my 30s or 50s or when I was a teenager. A perfect weekend now means a peaceful weekend with good sleep, some good food, and chilling with Ava, and going to see a good movie once in a blue moon. The Odyssey, a tale as old as time. Ava, being a University of Georgia graduate with a degree in comparative literature, almost seemed giddy and animated, explaining the oral histories of the stories in the Odyssey. How it all just filtered down through generations of society, those tales. She said it was orally told. Now, this is coming from a college-educated woman in comparative literature. She said it was orally told for 8 centuries before Christ even appeared. And how oral histories were passed down from generation to generation long before writers ever put all the tales down in text, in written text. Then I thought about most of the stories in the Bible started out as oral histories. The story of a man being swallowed by a whale. Who'd ever heard of such a thing? The story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Of men wrestling with angels. Of Job, of Samson and Delilah, and that uncircumcised Philistine, Goliath. A giant? Goliath? This big giant. The Bible speaks of giants. Were they really 9 foot tall? Probably. I worried that the movie would be too long, but it wasn't. I thought, could Matt Damon pull off playing Odysseus? He did. I loved how the Christopher Nolan version allowed Odysseus to become reflective after all of the wars. I catch myself becoming reflective sometimes at this season of life. In the words of Frank Sinatra, regrets, I've had a few. Even in the oral tales 8 centuries before Christ, people would tell tales of getting messages from people from the other side. On the mountain, Moses and Elijah came and sat with Jesus, a young Jesus. And they just had conversations on the mountainside, on the mountaintop. As look at that, cars going by. Tried to mess my video up. It's just the devil, y'all. Let them get on down. Young folks will be young folks. Even while sitting out here this morning, some mornings I can sense Mama sitting, hovering around somewhere out here. I don't often speak to her. Actually, I don't speak to her at all. I just sense that she could be around. There is a part of me that just leaves her alone. I think we should just leave the dead alone. Let them be dead. And a lot of times the reason we don't talk to them, we don't want them to show up. It would scare the bejesus out of me if while I'm doing this video, if Mama walked up behind me and said, "Hey, sugar, how you doing?" I'd be like, "Wow, Jesus, make her go on." But then there's another side of me where she's always there. Oh, my God. But maybe, I was my mama's favorite. I think I really was. At least she always made me feel like I was her favorite. Maybe it was because I reminded her of the first man that she ever loved. The first man that broke her heart. I love all of the stories of other gods too. I'm fascinated with all of it, especially the Nordic gods. And I think when I leave here, I may want to go to Valhalla instead of heaven. Heaven's kind of really lost its niche with me. Especially if I think, do I have to go be with all them people who claim to be saved that voted for Donald Trump? I don't want to spend it. I don't even want to have dinner with them. Must let's be stuck with them for eternity? Poof. Heaven just lost interest with me. People are like, well, they'll be different there. They'll be changed. No, they won't. I got a feeling we're going to be the same old people we are right here. Good people's going to be good people, and bad people's going to be bad people, even on the other side. So anyhow, I might decide just to go to Valhalla. Me and God's in negotiations now. It's kind of weird how the script has kind of flipped. In my young life, I was begging and pleading with God to please let me in. Don't let me miss heaven. And now I've reached the age where I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. God's got to up the till to kind of make me want to go to heaven. It's God's heaven. I might decide, no, I don't want to go to heaven. God, you better bring something to the table. You better negotiate with me, because whatever that version of heaven I was begging to get into, I don't know about all that. Good Monday morning, sweet people. I love the witch in the Odyssey. Where do witches get their powers? Where do faith healers get their powers? Where do children get their powers? The movie took me back to being a little boy with giants and witches and good guys that win in the end. Good morning, sweet people. I met Janet Napier, who lives in Dallas, Georgia, in the concession area yesterday at the theater. Someone who I am Facebook friends with, and her friend that came with her. It doesn't seem strange at all now when Ava and I go out in public that oftentimes we bump into people who's part of our pen pal social media gatherings. Social media is the new gathering hole. It is a blessing anytime we meet others out there like us who are living through these times that we're living through. Good day, everybody. Love y'all. See y'all.